Hello, everyone. Welcome to the launch of People Matters GCC India Talentscope 2025 research. I am Cheshta Dora, leading research and content at People Matters, and I'm glad to be hosting this session for all of you today. Before we start today, I would love to know where you all are joining us from. So, could you please share your city and your organization name with us over the chat here? Wonderful. While you all start on to join us, again, welcoming a few of you who are joining us right now. Now, a recent EY report said global capability centers in India are projected to increase to 2,400 by 2030, and the talent requirement will go up to 4.5 million. It's very clear as India's GCCs gear up for a period marked with rising growth and diversification, talent is the most defining lever for long-term success. But the competition for future-ready skills is also intensifying as we see, and traditional HR playbooks remain of little use to help companies evolve their talent practices at pace. So what do we need today? A big reset. What's needed today is a close look at the factors that will enable GCCs and HR leaders to create impact in their unique context and in the next few years. A key finding from the People Matters GCC India Talentscope research said 9 out of 10 HR business leaders predict talent demands is going to outstrip supply by 2030. And if leaders here fail to leverage current opportunities and begin strengthening their talent initiatives today, we may really risk falling behind. So, what's in it for you today? I welcome you to join for our exclusive launch of the research, where we are going to unveil some of the critical findings from the landmark report and also delve into the strategic insights that can help GCCs reimagine talent management, optimize workforce planning, and stay ahead of the race while they also prepare to address the increasing and mounting talent pressures that you all are facing today. So, and for that, we have two industry experts with us. And I would love to welcome them here on stage. The first one we have with us is Seema Padman, VP of People, Flutter Entertainment India.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Thank you, Cheshta.
Hi, Seema. Very warm welcome to our session today. For everyone else, a little bit about Seema here. By way of introduction, Seema is a transformative HR leader with over 2 decades of global and regional expertise in driving people strategy. As a VP of People at Flutter Entertainment India, she's committed to fostering an inclusive, high-performance work culture that drives organizational success and overall employee engagement. With expertise in talent management, leadership development, succession planning, and also org transformation efforts, she champions dynamic, future-ready people strategies. A very warm welcome to you, Seema, again, and I can't wait to delve deeper into this conversation with you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful. So our next leader we have with us is Yash Mohan, Head of HR at Wells Fargo. Hi, Yash.
Hi, good afternoon, Cheshta. Very happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you with us. For our listeners, a little bit about Yash Mohan. He comes with over 23 years of experience in global human resources across banking, insurance, SaaS, and data analytics businesses in India, APAC, and Americas region. Yash is responsible for driving the HR strategy and delivering innovative people solutions across Wells Fargo, India, and the Philippines. He brings expertise in org design, talent development, performance and rewards, culture building, and change management, a very critical lever for us today. He's also passionate about fostering a culture of excellence, inclusion, and growth, and hence is dedicated to empowering employees and driving org towards sustained success. It's so great to have you both, Yash and Seema. And without further ado, let's dive into today's conversation about GCCs. Great. So can we have the slide here with us? Awesome. So, while for our listeners, there is a full research available which you can download with the link that is being shared in the comments, we are going to talk about some of the critical findings here and really delve deeper into the conversations around the challenges that Yash, Mohan, and Seema Padman are going to talk about that resonates with all of you, and some of the critical strategies that they are implementing in the coming years to stay ahead of the game. A little bit about this research as we go ahead in the next slide. What we actually, Rakshita, can we move the slide ahead? Yes. In terms of the methodology and coverage, what I would love to share with all of you is that this is an India specific research as we are seeing the boom in GCCs here. So we collected over responses from over 100 CHROs, CEOs, CTOs, and GCC heads and site heads across the industries, which you can see here: consulting, e-commerce, financial services, healthcare, manufacturing, and IT. So while we talk about some of the overarching insights today, there are some industry-specific levers that you can further delve into from the research. Moving ahead and going to first question here today, as I spoke here, around 90% of
Cheshta,
leaders say yes. All right. Sorry, I thought I heard something. A key finding that we're going to talk about here is that 90% of leaders say that talent demands in GCC are beginning to outpace supply in India. In fact, if you see in the slides, only 19% of the leaders are going to say that AI can fill this talent gap, and 6% are saying that retention will be key. So I would love to understand from you, Yash and Seema, what are some of the factors accelerating this talent challenge for GCCs in India? And how do you think the ecosystem ensure better readiness of the talent to avoid this tipping point? Let's start with you, Yash.
All right, thank you. So, yes, demand is outpacing supply, and we are observing that demand is outpacing for several reasons, some of which you mentioned, right? So, one, the number of GCCs that we have today, well, 17, 1800, that's going to go up to 2400, projected by 2030. The number of people that are employed in the GCCs today is about 1.9 2 million. It'll go up 2x. The demand is about 4.5 million. And the revenue upside is also from 64 billion to about 100 billion. So it just talks about the activity that we have in this industry, and newer companies coming in, 100, 125 GCCs coming in every year. Like, the gap will only increase. When I talk about the opportunity that we have as a country, uh, about 30% of the Fortune 500 have footprint here, so which means 70% don't. That's the upside, the opportunity. About 25% of the Forbes 2000 have a footprint in our country, and the upside is another 75%. So demand will always be ahead of the supply. The supply side, again, when you look at the stats, the college grads coming out every year, we've got a supply of about 10 million. STEM grads of about 2 million, right? The issue is employability, being industry ready. So that's what we are witnessing today. New age skills, how do we get them ready, right? And there are things that we're thinking about or we're doing actively in our place to match and catch that demand. So of course, it's industry partnership with the colleges, uh, upskilling our employees internally, looking at certifications. So there are different ways and avenues that we'll have to deploy. It's not one size fits all. So that's just a bit from my side.
Thank you. Thank you so much for touching upon other aspects as well. Seema, I would love to hear from you.
Sure. Thanks. And I'd like to add on to what Yash said. One of the first things that I'd like to mention is that, this projection is not new, that demand will outpace supply. And while it's valid, I think with the pace of change we're seeing, especially in technology, it's not just constant change, it's exponential change. It's not realistic to expect that talent demand will ever, you know, uh, this situation will ever be different at any point. That's the reality. And so we've got to find ways to kind of navigate the reality in a different way. And I don't think no talent economy is immune from this. It's not just about India, right? And we have, like Yash pointed out, huge volume of talent, and we've great talent coming out on a regular basis, and we have the presence of a lot of organizations that are coming into tap into this talent. But as Yash mentioned, they are not industry ready. But that's also because universities everywhere struggle to keep curricula relevant because of the pace of technology and how much technology work and skills are evolving, and they're evolving faster than any educational workforce system can keep pace with. Employers are defining roles or redefining roles in real time. Skills are becoming obsolete faster than they're taught. So the shelf life of skills is shrinking fast, right? We will talk about AI, and your report does reference AI talent, and you mentioned it as well, Cheshta. Everyone wants AI talent, right? But no one has enough of it, and not even the companies building the tools have enough talent. And it's a great case in point. If you look at any economy, they're kind of going through the same kind of instance. And India's demographic dividend is real. We do have a young, growing workforce, and we're really at a place that better than any other economy in the world. But quantity does not equate to quality, which is one of the things that we have to be mindful of. And the high skills mismatch, employers' demand outpacing, and graduates being not industry ready are exacerbating this problem. There are some lessons from other economies that we can learn from. For example, Singapore, they have institutionalized continuous learning. Germany has a very strong vocational and practical dual education model. So those are things that we can learn from and adopt. But the reality is that organizations should think about dynamic talent ecosystems rather than static fixed skills mindset, right? And we have to kind of make sure there are things available or processes available in the organization. Internal mobility is one. Allowing career pivots within the organization is another way. Looking at adjacent skills are ways in which organizations are making sure they're having talent ready. And the shift has to be from availability to adaptability. The question is not when will supply meet demand. The question is, how do we build the muscle to adapt at the pace of change that's happening? And which means that we are in this constant cycle of learn, unlearn, relearn, and that has to continue always.
Yeah, thank you so much, Seema. I think what you said in the beginning is absolutely right, that it's not a new challenge. But what we also see, as Yash pointed out a few other numbers and figures as well, it is only intensifying. And how you both beautifully delve into not just the quantity in the form of demand, but also the quality of talent, which holds a lot of importance, and why skills are so much important. So it's not just the number of people, it's the right talent that we need for GCCs to be successful. And in fact, our research also states that because of this, in the next slide, as we see, a disintegrated approach will not work. In order for us to close the talent gap, we need to take care of each aspect of full employee life cycle, from talent workforce planning to talent acquisition to skills mapping and upskilling, reward recognition, and also retention. So all of these combined will help us probably take care of the mounting talent pressures that we have, not just the talent acquisition. But in order to start somewhere, what we also, like you rightly pointed out, saw as the dynamic skills emerge as a cornerstone of supporting the GCC stories. In the next slide, you'll see our report actually identified, in terms of technical skills, AI and ML, followed by cybersecurity, cloud computing, as some of the technical skills necessary across the industries. So my question to both of you, and I would love to understand from you, is, are these some of the skill gaps you are seeing in your organization and in peer GCCs as well? What are some of the other gaps that you are seeing? And how are your workforce planning strategies reflecting this reality of fast changing skill demands?
Seema, you want to go first?
You can take it, Yash. You go ahead.
All right. So, like you said, skills has become the cornerstone, um, and the focus is on the future skills, these emerging technologies, right? So, we see a similar pattern. So, generative AI, data, analytics, cyber, cloud, right? These are what you are really looking out for. It also matches to the pace of change, the change cycles that are coming in, right? When smartphones being digital, AI, cloud, everything has just come up in the last 1 decade. So, to Seema's point, right, the relevance of skill and obsolete skills, right, is a big question that we need to continuously plan around. So, what we've done is we've pivoted to a skill-based approach. When I say skill, skill is technical skill, skill is functional skill, but skill is also behavioral skill. So how do you do complex problem solving? Your resilience, right? Your emotional quotient, your growth mindset. So all those are becoming very critical because we see the technical and functional are being enabled by a lot of tools. So as you look at the organization journey, it's the skill inventory, the skill taxonomy. How do you then create the job architectures, the career paths, the learning pathways, right? That basically is what gives us that predictive life cycle. So workforce planning, and you can only plan this far, right? With the relevance and obsolescence of skill, you can plan 2 years out, and you have to be adaptable, you have to be agile to change those taxonomies and bring in what comes in as we move along. So that's been our approach. We've embedded that in our hiring strategies. We've embedded that in our development strategies, coupled with the soft skills and the behavioral skills, trying to model the future. If you look at the last revolution on digital, and I was reading somewhere about 60 to 70% of the workforce got trained internally. So we will do our part as organizations, right? If we've got 2 million professionals, I'm hoping we'll have about 1.4, 1.5, right, million professionals trained. Looking at the past trend, internally companies will do their part, but then when you go to the 4.5 million requirement by 2030, that's the gap we also need to actively think through partnerships, through industry, etc.
Right. Thank you so much. And thank you, Yash, for also covering the diverse set of skills, not just keeping to technical skills, but also behavioral competencies, soft skills. I would love to understand from Seema how it is, how the workforce planning at Flutter Entertainment is working out, because you also talked about the skill mapping exercise, figuring out skill adjacencies and hiring basis that. Could you talk about some of the use cases or success stories here?
Yeah, I think internal mobility has played a big part, and Yash referred to it just now as well, that, companies are building skills internally, which enables both growth for the individual, retention, and the ability to kind of adapt and have a workforce that's ready quicker. So that's one of the big focus areas for us at Flutter, through internal mobility and also having capability building to move people internally and for people to take on newer roles. That's a big focus area. And rightly pointed out, all of the technical skills that you've laid out here is relevant for us at Flutter. That these are the skills that we are actively looking for. These are the capabilities that are in demand, and we're competing with a lot of organizations, including Wells Fargo's, to kind of bring that talent in, right? But the other piece is that, in addition to the technical skills, this ability to learn fast is becoming a power skill. And there are a few power skills that are really important to focus on. Learning agility is one of them. And somebody who's adaptable and learns fast is a real asset to organizations because they can pivot into newer roles, they can pick up skills, they are very self-driven and motivated, and that's an important attribute to kind of consider. Other areas is things like ability to succeed in a matrixed environment. It's a very, organizations can get very complex, especially one like ours, where we have several brands, we operate in multiple geographies, and there's ability to navigate a matrix structure where there is an identity of the brand, there's an identity of the parent company, there's the identity of the local entity, all of those kind of combined, and navigate and succeeding in those environments are also important factors, important skills to keep in mind.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. And while we'll delve deeper into some of the up and coming skill development methodologies that GCCs can utilize, I think one of the questions we've received from the audience, which we can see if we can take care of right now, is when we were talking about the whole employee life cycle, Ashish actually from our audience asked, do we have the systems and policies readiness to have a closed loop talent development process? If yes, then what are those? And what are some of the tools and technology that is something that we have that can enable that talent development process?
So, from my perspective, again, there are enough and more tools available in the market. And when you look at recruiting and you are using a skills-based approach, of course, you've got partners who can come in and help you as long as you can map your taxonomy and what you really need in terms of the inventory, and you have a system that then helps you operate faster. Today, of course, that also raises some concerns around ethical AI, right? Impersonation, etc. You have guardrails put in the system or those processes. And those are things that your policies and processes should help you weigh in. I would call that process human in the loop at some point. You can't necessarily depend on the AI and the technology completely, but it does help you move faster and better. As you transition into, let's say, learning, again, there are organizations that are available, partners that are available. You can do it internally, but there is a transition that you see, a shift that is happening. There are big learning management systems and companies that you can actually partner with. They're coming up with their own agents. So, for example, if I have to be that continuous learner, then the learning needs to be meaningful for me. It should be exciting for me.
Yeah.
And it should be tailored and customized for me, available at any time of the day, right? Because I'm so busy. So those are the experiences that the companies are thinking. So for us, it's more partnership and bringing the right partners in, using the AI agents to create your development plans, help you create a tutored learning program and learning journey, so that if you are struggling with a topic, gives you special attention like a teacher in the class would or a trainer in the class would. So that's the kind of experience we want to deliver, right? Personalized, and then link back to pay, right? So how do you really pay for the skills that you really need? How do you create your compensation and incentive structure? So it's a complete the life cycle that you've shown at every point in time. You have partners available, you have processes, but it all goes back to what skills are critical. And then I'll pick up what Seema mentioned, the matrix organizations. And the matrix organizations and the walls and the collaboration that is needed, right, sometimes slows you down. With the pace of change, that is going to challenge this entire ecosystem. So how are you more agile? How do you move fast, right? How you break the silos? How do you create purposeful teams who will then disintegrate and go and do something else, right? So that is the change that you will see in terms of how we operate in the future.
Right.
So Ashish,
Thank
hopefully
you
that
so much.
answers your question.
Yeah, I think you've touched upon various aspects, some of which we are going to discuss as well. Personalization and customization, one of the important aspects, and how AI can help you in that journey. So, thank you so much, Yash, for taking that question. While we've talked about the workforce planning and skill mapping exercise and seeing some of the skills that are in high demand versus some that are probably on the side burner, but they are the keys to success, and we should take care of. One thing we would like to double click on is the talent acquisition process once we have done planning. So in the next slide, what we tried to ask in our research is what are some of the strategic innovations that we are seeing in GCC hiring, as clearly there is a high demand of right talent that we need, the skill talent that we need today. And what came out surprisingly is that almost one half of the leaders, not just the CHROs, but all business leaders, are talking about leveraging AI-driven hiring solutions, followed by the skill-based hiring, of course. Yet, I would also love to pitch in. There are some of the concerns that we are also seeing in the ethical use of AI that persist with the hiring processes, especially with the high amount of hiring that we are seeing. So, would you? I'm curious to understand, how do you see that real impact of AI on hiring skill talent for GCC's increasing demand? Both the potential in terms of the pros and some of the pitfalls that our listeners can take away and take care of. So, Seema, would you like to start here?
Sure. So there are a lot of AI-powered hiring solutions, and talent acquisition is kind of rampant with a lot of AI solutions, and is undoubtedly transferring how GCCs attract and evaluate talent, and especially at scale. In a place like India, we need to be able to scale. AI helps streamline the process by automating screening, personalizing candidate outreach, generating insights from large data sets. But of course, we have to be, like you rightly said, mindful of how that impacts bias. What are the pitfalls of using AI? And there is a deeper issue that AI probably we've not found solutions for, and the growing readiness gap that's still assessing for that readiness gap is probably missing. For most GCCs, the challenge isn't just identifying candidates; it's ensuring that they're future fit. And so, while algorithms can spot in patterns in CVs, can pick up skills, they can't fully assess things like what we both Yash and I have talked about as adaptability, learning agility, aligning with evolving GCC talent models. All of those, there is no opportunity to fully assess those. So speed and scale, from a potential perspective, fast-driven matching across large talent pools. You can personalize the candidate experience because there's an always-on engagement opportunity that you have with AI. But hidden biases that are baked in, and especially if past hiring data is biased, then AI will exacerbate it. It replicates it and scales it, and that's a real pitfall that we need to watch for. The ethical legal ambiguity. Candidates are increasingly asked how they're being assessed, right? And then the over reliance on AI. And you heard Yash mention that human AI collaboration is where it needs to go. So there is AI should augment, not replace recruiter judgment or the hiring manager's judgment, especially in final stage decision making. And it's a powerful enabler, but not a substitute for a thoughtful, skills forward talent strategy is what I would say. So we have to blend AI efficiency that you can get in terms of the process piece, but in the decision making piece, the human insight, ethics, and foresight continue to be really important.
Yeah, yeah, and so we are hearing, and so many use cases and examples reflect that a lot of times how hiring strategies, how acquisition has actually gone wrong with leveraging some of these solutions. And while some of those have really helped, in the hiring strategies and hiring the right people when it comes to skills, but when it comes to diversity hiring, there's a lot of human judgment evaluation that is required. I see Yash, you're smiling as well. Do you have certain examples or certain stories to share with us?
I mean, story is known to all of us, right? Candidates looking at the job description, using AI, and then putting in their applications. Chances of success are the AI tool will throw it across, right? So that's always a dilemma. The human in the loop, the recruiter, and augmentation is the right use at this point. I would see this will evolve over a period of time as we productize the entire workflow. So you think end to end from a hiring manager experience perspective. from a candidate application to onboarding perspective. There are parts that will be replaced by AI, and we need to reimagine that entire workflow. That will happen, right? The tools that are available to us, whether internally or in the or from the market, slowly start to integrate and help us move faster in some of this. But the end objective is to get the right quality, create the right experience for the hiring managers and the candidates, and use the right use of technology. So AI agents today can actually go ahead and schedule interviews to you, right? So if you look through, it'll tell you what what list of candidates match the job profile. When you look through it and you say yeah, and then they'll go ahead and actually schedule it for you, right? They follow through the entire process. So it's getting a lot simpler, but there's a lot of opportunity when you start to reimagine and rebuild some of that, of course keeping ethical AI into consideration.
Right. And I think it doesn't just stop at talent acquisition. The new AI talent engine that we are talking about, it obviously it is there to help you succeed with the hiring velocity, to help you manage the hiring at speed, but also at creating the talent, meaningful talent experience, which is why we are seeing AI becoming more and more important here. And if we go to the next slide, we'll see some of those examples coming in the whole life cycle here. So another research that I was reading, Yash and Seema, also predicted that the offer dropout rate in some of the greenfield GCCs can be as high as 20%. Correct me if I'm wrong in this as a challenge. And if companies don't focus on sustaining new hires, they will be in trouble. There will be such challenges. So if we move on to the new slide, the next slide, what we are seeing is that personalization, as you touched upon, Yash, earlier as well, across different touch points in the employee life cycle, while creating a meaningful experience, like in L&D, in rewards, in recognition, in also building career pathways and retention, has become a top priority for HR leaders. What we are showing here is around the upskilling of not just new hires, but also the existing hires, some of the new age upskilling pedagogies. So the two upcoming strategies that we have observed here is, along with the personalized platform, cross industry learning among the GCCs in the same sector, across the industry, has becoming a very common, upskilling strategies. Could you share a few use cases where across these areas, that we have talked about in the employee life cycle, GCCs can really leverage technology, AI-driven technology, to drive customization, personalization, and meaningful experience? Seema, can we start with you?
Sure. So there's a lot of the places where personalization is kind of taking shape, and some of the things that we're doing is around candidate experience and employee experience, right? And it can be, right from engaging with a very personalized outreach program with the candidates, to making sure that they have a personalized onboarding journey. And I'm not saying that all of it is in place in Flutter, and no by implying that, but I'm talking about opportunities that we are exploring. Some of it has progressed further, some of it is in development stage, but laying out where are the opportunities in terms of personalization. And so really customizing that candidate journey up till onboarding, and having a very personalized high-touch experience, which feels very special to the individual. And that's also been successful. We talked about greenfield GCCs having a high rate of offer rejects, right? Surprisingly, one of the things, we're having a high offer acceptance ratio, close to 90%. And I think that's because there's a huge, and there is an increasing human touch as well, that we combine with this personalized journey that we're offering to people. We are smaller in number, and so we have that luxury at this point of time, but the trick is to scale that. That's up to onboarding. One of the things we're looking at is really starting to highlight how, for people to put their development journeys together, taking into considerations what their future aspirations are, what their current skills are, where the gaps are, and having AI also help with career pathways. And that's a great way to kind of leverage AI. And making sure, even in terms of nudges for learning programs, offering that as a personalized way to make sure that the individual is reminded of applying their learning to the workplace, rather than just having a program that they attend and then transferring that knowledge and application in the workplace is an important factor, and nudges work in that area. Personalized rewards and benefits, and how can we kind of do that, recognition programs, all of that are important, and these are systemic things that you can do to make sure that the experience is great. But I think at a fundamental level, you've got to think about the culture of the organization and the sense of belongingness that and these are the softer aspects that I would say. So you can put in all of the experiences and the systemic approaches that make it a very hard systems way of doing things, whether it's onboarding, whether it's learning and development, whether it's rewards and recognition, all of the practices that you've outlined, right? But I would say that, to emphasize on the sense of belonging that you can create, and the culture and the values that the company stands for. And that's a very tangible thing that people experience. And that, I think, goes a long way, more than just the systemic thing. And they say that the systemic things that you put in place actually results in a rational commitment from the individual, because at a rational level, they understand that the organization is doing so many things that are very personalized for me, and maybe this is a good place. But the intangible stuff around culture and sense of belongingness creates an emotional commitment. And I think, both hand in hand is an important factor.
Very well said, Seema here. And I couldn't agree more that some of these things that you mentioned are truly tangible, because it reflects in a high performance culture that GCCs operate in. So they are very tangible and can be looked upon via certain metrics and KPIs that GCCs have in place. While we've talked about that, Yash, I would love to understand from you, and this is something that will probably take care of Nikhil, one of our listeners' question on bridging the experience and exposure gap through skills trainings and why it doesn't happen. Basically, would love to touch upon the cross-industry learning here, and how do we cultivate those external knowledge networks that has become an imperative and stresses upon learning from each other in the GCC ecosystem.
So that I get the question right, the question is about cross-cultural learning or cross-industry learning?
Cross-industry learning that comes out as a upskill methodology here, learning from our external networks.
Sure. So for the company that I work for, it's a bank. Wells Fargo is a bank. It's one of the top 5 banks in the world by market capitalization. When we look at India, Philippines, we are the top 3 employers in the region, top 3 banking employers in the region. So our business is spread across, right? We've got people who directly interact with the customers, the people who do product work or business work, right? Really getting our banking and banking products forward. The folks who do technology, the folks who do operations, like really help our clients in terms of their day-to-day needs. So there are different forums for these different groups. What we try and generally focus on is in 3 ways. So one, employees can actually leverage our digital offerings that helps them connect to the communities. We also look at creating cohorts at times that gets people together. Cohorts can be virtual and classroom. So you kind of get a feel on online, which caters and customizes your learning and then brings you together. So you kind of network together. Then we focus on communities. So communities that are leading AI, that are leading cloud, that are leading data, right? So these are now specialists across the organization. You're trying to bring them together. Ours is a very large organization. So this is very, very important to identify the skills Technology wise, those skills, identification, and getting the cohorts together, I think we are much further ahead. Getting them connected in the industry, we actually let those communities go out and find the bodies. Of course, NASCOM is there, CII is there, right? Those engagements are always available. But then these communities, when they go and see what is the best available learning opportunity on the AI front or on the data front, right? They bring that learning back to this community, and that's how they start to network. Some of them actually are industry speakers, they are evangelists, really thinking about the future. So they lead from the front. We do not have that well-defined communities when it gets to some of the operations groups, but of course, I mean there are networks outside that we leverage, and for that we heavily depend on some of the financial institutions and of course NASCOM. So that's how we kind of create the ecosystems. The end objective is the communities of expertise that we build really then define the charter of how they want to network, how they want to grow, what are the tools that they want to use, and then share that with the industry and bring the best practices in. So that's our ultimate journey. That's where we are headed towards.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Yash, for really breaking it down for us. I think it gives a lot of ideas and context, especially to our audience as well, to kind of think of some of these ideas and innovative upskilling strategies in context of their organization and see what they can implement. So this is great. While there are some of the other ways, some of the other strategies like impact-based recognition, personalized career trajectories that are very, very critical for retention in closing the loop of that talent management development that our research focuses on. I would love to move ahead and cover something else which is becoming very, very important in the holistic cycle of talent management, which is people analytics. So in the next slide, you will see how GCCs can actually create an edge for themselves by leveraging people analytics in the talent excellence and success for their organizations. It has actually come as a top driver for some of these areas. So what I would love to understand from both of you is how are you at your organizations reinventing and implementing the start to end analytics to really increase employee productivity and high performance culture? Seema, would love to start from you.
Sure. So people analytics has been gaining traction across GCCs, and there is a focus on productivity and how to extract more value from the data they already have around productivity and performance. At Flutter, we do have a very focused people analytics team that is looking at more lagging indicators at this point of time. And there's some shift looking at leading indicators. When I say lagging indicator, it is things like, what is the engagement data telling us? What is the data around trends, around hiring, around retention, around engagement, around development telling us. But increasingly, there's an understanding that we have to look at leading indicators like predictive analytics, and that's something we are probably dipping our foot into, but we hope to kind of really capitalize on, to kind of say how can we get insight into what's where this is likely to go ahead and how things are going to shape up. When it comes to productivity, and this is not, again, not referencing what's being doing, we've had conversations around looking at productivity and understanding productivity better. But my only point would be that productivity is a very loaded term. It can focus on output per hour, or things achieved, or it can be efficiency metrics and things like that, right? But productivity should also be about sustainability. It should be about team dynamics, and there's a real opportunity here, I think, for GCCs to move about for productivity metrics at least, to move from simple efficiency metrics to kind of saying, understand the conditions that enable productivity and performance. Psychological safety, time fragmentation, the quality of collaboration, and that's when it becomes sustainable. So there is a potential that we've really not tapped into, not to just identify problems after they've occurred, which is how people analytics is currently, but proactively use the data to kind of shape work environments, to make sure that we are getting sustainable performance and productivity. So the focus mostly is currently, I think, around foundational analytics, but the leap will come when you're designing performance ecosystems, and not just measuring individual productivity, but shaping the environment in which high performance and high productivity becomes natural and repetitive. And I think that's the direction to go to.
Yeah, thank you so much for. I think there's an increased focus on productivity, and there's a lot of questions around productivity, and the definition of productivity. And as you mentioned, you also laid out some of the conditions that accelerate productivity as well. I would go on to say not just the efficiency, but also added value creation should be a part of productivity measurement. That is something that we are probably overlooking at the moment for at least core versus top performers as we do that exercise. But Yash, I would love to understand from you, what are some of the people analytics use case you are seeing emerging for let's say the most critical parts of the talent management cycle that we have seen, from streamlining talent acquisition to AI-led upskilling and the reward and recognition.
So I mean, I imagine a future, right, where you can ask Alexa or Siri, right, to give you whatever you need to enable your decision. So analytics is an important element to decision making, and where I see we are in the journey is at an org level. So, for example, when you talk about workforce planning, what you need for the future, your skill inventory, I think we are doing well on that front. We're really projecting at an organizational level. When it gets to the team or the employee level, it's still a combination of lagging and trying to really streamline and tick and tie the dots, right, to get some meaningful information. I would like to get us to a place where you have some indicators of outcomes, right? So here are the 10 things we said we'll do. Here are the 10 we did, right? We did very well. So as long as you define the North Star very clearly, and that differs from team to team to team, right? It's subjective, like Seema mentioned. That kind of information then helps us move fast, because then you're getting that real-time information. You have the ability of getting the feedback. If there are things that are not working, as we call fail fast in Agile, right? You fail fast, you adjust, and you see how the new model. So that iterative cycle, which will be much more faster, it happens in the Agile world, but it's more through words and feedbacks, right? Which are subjective. Again, AI systems will have its own biases. People have their own biases, right? So we've not cracked the code, at least at our place, but that's the direction we want to be. Hey Siri, and then put your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that agility is required. It's been long that's come out of just the technology world to everyone adapting it, but really now how it works for the HR organization is coming out in picture, and not just HR service delivery models, not whether GCCs or not GCCs, but also how to leverage technology to enable yourself to be more agile and effective in bringing talent at the pace where they need to be. So it's a very, very important metrics. Thank you so much, Yash. While moving ahead, in the interest of time, our next slide actually shows top 3 imperatives that the research identifies for GCC HR leaders to bridge the gap between now and 2030. These are how scaling intelligent digital infrastructures that will enable agility, as Yash mentioned, and data-driven and customized workforce management, cultivating external knowledge networks, which has come out to be a top upskilling and development approach, not just to take care of the current disruption that we are dealing with, but also preparing ourselves to pivot with the next change, next disruption that we are seeing that is going to impact GCCs. And also, third thing, very, very important and very foundational, and not to lose in the hype of things, is operationalizing advanced talent analytics to guide the decision making, as you mentioned, and optimize productivity, as Seema mentioned clearly. So while we talk about these three imperatives that GCC leaders, CHROs in GCC organizations will have to work on to bridge GCC aspirations, I would love to know one, if you were to give one advice for these leaders to work on today to meet tomorrow's needs, what would that one advice be? And we'll start from you, Seema.
If it's one advice, then I would definitely say collective effort on the ecosystem level challenges that we have, right? If you look at education industry alignment, and that's the place where you can have huge collaboration that really expands the talent pool without diluting the individual identity of the organization. I think that's a place to focus on. And countries that have been successful in terms of bridging the gap in terms of demand and supply in talent is because they have had these strong academia industry partnerships. And I think that would be my one place, one recommendation.
Thank you so much, Seema. Yash?
Um, so, of course, the industry partnership that you mentioned is very critical to our future success, to the 2 million talent gap that we just spoke about. As organizations, we can cover campuses, right? We can do some of the things that we need to do to bring industry ready workforce, but our span and scope is limited.
Yeah.
And to the 10 million graduates that are coming out each year, and the employability being at 10% or even lower, right? If you're able to raise the bar with help from CII, with help from NASSCOM, right? So that's something that I think we will have to heavily leverage. The programs that we bring in should help the candidates, the students, as well as the employers, and collectively we should be able to build a community, right, and bridge the gap over a period of time. Because internally, like I said, we will skill our workforce, and
Yeah.
70% people will get upskilled. So I'm not worried about that. It's the gap that is ahead of us, and I don't think so we can solve it without a wider partnership.
Right, right. That's great. Thank you so much, both of you, for such helpful insights and giving us a lot of context on what is happening in the GCC world, validating some of these insights and challenges, and what can we really do about them. What can we really do about some of the shifts that we are seeing? Some of how can we really execute imperatives and make it more actionable and not just leave at the conversation stages. But these kind of conversations really give us some ideas, a thought platter to work towards, to start from. I think we have a few minutes, so it will be great if we can take one audience question, if that's all right with you. So while we talk about some of these initiatives, it's very important to track these as well, because these are some of these are existing, use cases, initiatives, but a lot of these are also evolving and emerging initiatives. So I think Ashish here asked, how have the talent metrics in acquisition and development evolved across industries over the past 2 decades, especially in the GCC world? And how do these metrics tracked at a startup level shift as organizations grow and mature into MSMEs or enterprise level businesses? Would love for any one of you to take that.
I can go in terms of a startup and where it's the focus is on really, having agility, moving fast, and also early setup. It is pace or speed can be a metric. And that tends to be how fast are you hiring, how fast are you getting somebody ready for, how's their onboarding process to becoming a full-fledged employee in terms of delivering on projects and things like that. So you can look at the speed of things, and that agility is always going to be important in a startup. But as you mature, talent, how you're growing your talent and how capable you're making them, and how prepared you're making them for future roles. So, what's the level of internal talent movement into key roles in the organization? Your ability to retain your high potential talent. Where are the areas where you have a challenge with high potential talent not being retained? I think you start to kind of focus on that. So there are some minor shifts, and it's not significant. You will see a certain set of metrics that cut across everything, right? Irrespective of whether the maturity of the organization, whether they are small or a large scale organization, time to fill, quality of hire, attrition, engagement scores. These are all measured. But I think it's the nuance pieces in terms of organizational design, and some of the things around context that really help people succeed, and that's where mature organizations are kind of looking at their metrics. So that's how I would see it going.
Thank you so much. I think it's you've stated it well about some of the metrics that are evolving. Yash, any last thoughts on that?
Just one thing. Startups or the companies, MSMEs, right? I would think have more agility, and that's what I think these companies should continue to mine. You can give a stronger sense of purpose to your people, that the work that they do makes a difference, right, to the customers, to the product, to what we're doing in the industry, right, innovation, and that purpose will go a long way in making sure that you keep your key employees, and they help bring in more talent, right, as you grow and expand.
Well said, Yash. I think I was talking to another CHRO of enterprise organization the other day, and they stated a very similar and interesting point that there is something that enterprise organizations need to learn from startup and mid-size organizations, that is agility. That is the pace at which they can move and change things because of the pace at which AI, technology, some of the other external factors, geopolitical, demographic factors are shifting the pace of work and outpacing the way we can manage work and people. So it's a very important aspect that you've highlighted, and the biggest metrics of all. And that's a great way to kind of close the conversation. Thank you again, Seema and Yash, for amazing insights focused on the sector-specific research and nuances. Thank you so much to our audience again for listening in, for asking all the right questions. Keep them coming. Would love for you to download this report. You have a QR code here from which you can download the report. Do feel free to share the feedback with us. That will only help us improve our research efforts and get you bigger and better and bolder insights in the next edition of this. Thanks again, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jess, Seema, and everybody else. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.